how did we begin? Where was the origin of civilization? Experts have offered many theories based on what they observe, but do we really know? For sometimes evidence turns up which completely contradicts all theories. In the frozen earth of Siberia, remains are found of lost animal species such as the giant mammoth, wiped out by a sudden global cataclysm. Ancient maps have been discovered, which show the continent of Antarctica centuries before we discovered it.
This map, which is centuries old, depicts the true configuration of Queen Maud's Land, which is now under nearly a kilometer of ice, and its true configuration wasn't determined until 1949.
A century ago, an archaeologist concluded the ancient city of Tiwanaku in Bolivia was a stellar observatory aligned to the sun and stars. From it, he calculated its age to be 17,000 years old. His evidence was ridiculed until recently.
The only correction that I would make is that we now have better astronomical measurements due to satellites and computers. And I would suspect the date would be more like 12,000 years ago. But that still makes Tiwanaku the oldest city known on the face of the earth.
Geologists found that the Great Sphinx of Egypt has been weathered by centuries of incessant heavy rain. Such rain can only have occurred thousands of years before the pharaohs. Was the Sphinx built way before the dawn of civilization?
What's at issue here is the entire history of civilization. It may not have gone in a straight line from stupid old cavemen to smart old us with our hydrogen bombs and our striped toothpaste.
Sometimes evidence is found which breaks all the rules. In this program, we'll meet people who are looking at precisely this evidence and chart new theories which may change our views on the course of human civilization.
This huge face was carved by the ancient Olmecs of Mexico. It's believed to be at least 2,000 years old. It's quite unmistakably African, and yet Negroes are not supposed to have come to America until after the time of Columbus.
In his book From Atlantis to the Sphinx, author Colin Wilson collects clues which he and others believe to reveal footprints of a lost, advanced civilization that existed before history began. Greek philosopher Plato described precisely such a civilization, which, Egyptian priests told him, sailed the oceans thousands of years earlier until it was destroyed in a huge cataclysm. He called it Atlantis. Atlantis, a huge cataclysm. We know of such a cataclysm from another myth, the biblical flood, Noah and his ark, a myth equally scorned by scientists.
Yet, when they reject the biblical deluge and Noah's Ark as fable, scientists are ignoring the fact that across the entire world there are hundreds of flood myths, quite apart from the Mesopotamian and the Hebrew accounts, which tell the same story of a worldwide disaster which virtually wiped out mankind before the beginning of recorded history. Was there really something like a flood? And if so, was there a civilization that came before all the others? I'm saying a civilization and not Atlantis, because as soon as you mention that word Atlantis, every scientist groans, "Oh no," and stops listening. The notion of a universal flood is beyond intellectual respectability. But how unbiased is science itself? Does it really do what it claims to do? Take the facts and start from there.
Throughout history, science has tended to focus more on its own theories than on the facts. From facts, a theory arises to explain them. Other facts are laid aside. New facts may change the theory, but as often they're again ignored. We call such facts anomalies, evidence which doesn't fit. In their controversial book, Forbidden Archaeology, scientists Thompson and Cremo show what happens to such evidence which contradicts the rules.
Over the past 150 years, these archaeologists and anthropologists have covered up as much evidence as they've dug up, literally.
Basically what you find is something we call a knowledge filter. This is a fundamental feature of science, of human nature. People tend to filter out things that don't fit. So in science you find that evidence that doesn't fit the accepted paradigm tends to be eliminated. It's not taught, it's not discussed, and people who are educated in scientific teachings generally don't even learn about it.
What we're talking about, for example, was demonstrated in Hiatlico, Mexico, in 1966, when archaeologist Jean Steen McIntyre threatened to overturn the conventional view that mankind is relatively new to most parts of the Earth. That he penetrated into Siberia around about 30,000 years ago, and definitely not into America until about 20,000 years ago.
In Mexico, Jean Steen McIntyre uncovered stone tools and human bones and had them dated through a variety of thorough scientific tests.
We thought we had an old site. This was back in '66, and we thought it was perhaps 20,000 years old, and at that time that was considered a very old age for the site. When we finally got the dates and all the different methods we used to date it, it came out to be 250,000 years old. To tell you the truth, I would have been happy with a 20,000-year-old date. It would have made my career. And I was rather naive. I thought, okay, I'm just going to stick with the date. We've got the information, we got the facts, let's get the facts out and go on from there. And I didn't realize it was going to ruin my whole career.
All her professional opportunities have been closed off since then. The site was closed, permission for further investigation denied, permanently. Yet earlier this year, over 3 decades later, archaeologists uncovered traces of human beings in Siberia dating back 300,000 years, a date which suddenly makes Jean McIntyre's find not so improbable after all.
It's not necessarily a deliberate conspiracy in the sense of some people getting together in a smoke-filled room and saying, we're going to deceive people. It's something that happens automatically within the scientific community. So when a given piece of evidence disagrees with the